Welcome to American Hydroponics, our May webinar. Many of you might know we have a free webinar every month that talks about different topics of how to grow, how to start, how to maintain your hydroponic business. So here we are in our HCOE greenhouse. It's a working greenhouse. It's a working commercial greenhouse. So you might see, some stuff going on around us. But what we're going to talk about today is a question that we probably get I wouldn't say more than any other, but we get this question a lot, is about particularly packaging, harvesting and packaging your hydroponic produce. And hydroponics produce is becoming more and more popular in your grocery stores. So you'll see some of that here, but let's get started. So I'm going to come over here. I'm going to wash my hands real good. And we've already signed into, for our food safety protocols, we've already signed into right here our clipboard that shows who's here, what we're doing, and the times we're here. I'm going to put on an apron. And particularly for harvesting, I'm going to put on some gloves. So then we're going to come over here. And we're going to get started particularly on harvesting. We're just going to do a couple of quick examples today. We're going to harvest some leafy greens. And this could be something a lot of you may have heard us talk about. It's either leafy greens, maybe it's a spring mix, maybe it's something else, or arugula might be. We grow a lot of arugula. Our customers really like it. Or cress, something like that. And it's right here. So it grows in what we call, for any of you that are familiar with our systems, this is our nursery channel, and there are 72 holes per 12-foot stick of channel here. And why that's so great, one, it makes it super easy to harvest, but two, you can grow a lot more in the same exact space. So all we're going to do right here, there's a couple of different ways to harvest your leafy greens like this. And we do have a customer that actually just pulls them out, leaves them roots on, and does like 6 cubes per small bag, and they sell them that way. Most of our customers, me included, what we're going to do is we're going to leave the roots right in there. We're just going to take it, and we're just going to harvest it by cutting it right off like this. And that's, I don't want to drop too many of them. And then you have a nice big handful, and you're going to put them in the bags or however you choose to package it. So let me come over and put this over here. And for our next, and so you're just going to go down, and you're going to go down the entire length of the channel like that, and it goes pretty quickly. Next, we're going to harvest a full head of lettuce, and look at this beautiful lettuce right here. This is a butterleaf, and you're going to see, you're going to harvest it, and this is the roots on. You see those nice healthy roots there. You can harvest this one of two ways. You can harvest it just like this, and you're going to sell it with the roots on. And generally when you do that, you might wrap the roots right around it like that just to keep them, kind of a little bit tidy. And you're going to harvest it, and then you're going to package it right like that. Another way you might do it, if your customers don't, for whatever reason, don't want the roots on, you're going to cut the root ball off, the root ball right here, and you're going to cut it right here at the core of the lettuce. You don't want to cut it up too high, because if you do, you're going to cut some of the leaves off. But you want to cut it low enough so it can still sit in your packaging. I'm going to leave that right there. So next, just very quickly, we're going to do, this is something you may hear us talk a lot about, is microgreens. And so here's our tray of microgreens. This is in just one of our standard propagation trays, and you can grow these right in your same propagation system. And all you're going to do is, if you've watched any of our webinars before on microgreens, you know that they grow on this mat right here. And this is it's kind of like felt, but it's specifically made for greens in a greenhouse to grow microgreens. So what you're going to do here, let me get my little, because these are a little bit of a delicate matter. I'm going to package them right now. And what I'm packaging, I'll talk a little bit later about, is this is one that we're going to give away for samples to kind of encourage our customers to buy our microgreens. One reason why we might like microgreens so much is because microgreens are a super fast crop. They're either a 10 to 12 day crop, something like that. And this tray right here will grow about a pound of microgreens. And in that pound of microgreens, you can get anywhere from $25 to $40 a pound. So you can see it's a pretty profitable thing to grow, and they take up such a small space. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go right down here by the root and just cut them right like that. And then I'm going to take them and I'm going to put them right here in this little box. And that just gives a nice little sample. We're going to talk about the box in just a little second. This isn't normally, this is, like I said, it's for a sample, so it's kind of a little marketing gimmick we have. But and you can fill it a little fuller than that, but that's how simple it is to harvest the microgreens. So we'll set that back over here. So what we're really going to talk about today, that was a quick one on harvesting. What we're really going to talk about is packaging. And there are lots of different ways to package your hydroponic produce. It really depends on a couple of different things: who your customers are, and two, what they like, right? So, for example, you know, we're going to kind of start large scale. So we have some industrial customers. And here at HCOE, they sell to restaurants, they sell to grocery stores, they sell to schools, they sell to a commercial kitchen that makes pesto. Each one of those different types of customers, and they also have a farm stand or a CSA program. So they kind of run the full gamut of everything, which is great. So each one of those customers might want it packaged or will want it packaged differently. So we're going to start with some of the larger institutions, and we're just going to talk a little bit about, so for something like for institutions, for schools, for restaurants, they're really concerned, their biggest concern is storage and ease of use, right? So they don't want something all fussy that has a label on it and that, you know, you have to open or you have to rip open like this. What they want is ease of use and ease of storage. Any of these institutions or restaurants in particular want something that won't take up a lot of space, or they can utilize all your space really well. So our customers, we use a big plastic bin like this. So we have a big plastic bin, and we just take a large plastic bag and we line it. And that way, each time we reuse these plastic bins, so we collect them back from our customers, and then we just line it, and then you have a nice fresh start every time. And you can deliver pretty much anything this. Again, restaurants aren't going to want their heads of lettuce individually packaged. They're not going to necessarily want, you know, their basil individually packaged or anything like that. The other thing about this is it's super strong, super durable, and so we can use it again and again and again. Another thing is storage, produce boxes. And we get these, a lot of the packaging that we get comes either from Uline, which is a large national company, probably international company, and they make storage produce boxes. And we also get a lot of our packaging from Aru. So here's two different kinds of produce boxes. This one is specifically for tomatoes, but you can put anything in there. They come in different sizes. The produce boxes from Uline cost anywhere from about $2.25 all the way up to $5.50, depending on the size of box and whether you're going to get a single unit or one with a lid. Again, the nice thing about that is they can stack on top of each other. And that's something that large institutions care about, right? So they can utilize their entire floor space all the way up. The bummer about this particular, these produce boxes is that you can't reuse them. Even though they are waxed so that the water doesn't absorb too much in and cause them to get soggy, you really can't ask your customers to hold on to these boxes and then, you know, let you pick them up when you go back to deliver the next week or a few days later. So they're great in that you can dispose of them. You don't have to store them, and they're pretty sturdy, as you can see. So you can put your produce inside there, and they can stack these on top of each other, and it's not going to crush the produce inside. So this is for larger institutions when you're delivering a lot of stuff. Then let's talk about grocery stores, wholesalers, anything like that. What they're concerned about when you package something is the attractiveness of it, right? Because they're going to set it out there and they're going to want to be very attractive to their customers. So a lot of grocery stores will ask you to do clamshells. And clamshells come in a ton of different forms. Here's one version. This is a 1/2 ounce of, in this case it was mint, but it's a 1/2 ounce of herbs, and they have them 1 ounce herbs, all different types. And it's a clamshell. It's nice. This is nice for grocery stores because it makes a nice presentation, doesn't get smashed. In general, let me kind of just quickly go through other sizes. So here's one that could hold a small head of lettuce, or if you have a mixed lettuce or something like that, it could hold that. Other types of, there are a ton of different sizes of clamshells that you can use for all sorts of different things in your produce. This one right here, this actually just came from our local grocery store. You can see this is a hydroponic produce. This isn't ours, but it's a hydroponic produce, and it has the root ball still on it. So these are very specific clamshells that have the root ball still attached to them, so you can keep them wet and alive a lot longer. And again, grocery stores like this because you can set a whole bunch of them on top of each other, and they're not going to crush your produce, and it makes a really nice presentation. Now, the drawback about clamshells and why you won't find us at AmHydro recommending clamshells is that they're not recyclable. There's only certain ones that are recyclable. The other thing is they're very, very expensive. When you're talking about packaging, they're really expensive. So you might have a head of lettuce, and let's say you're selling your head of lettuce for $1.50 for wholesale to a grocery store for $1.50, something like this head of lettuce. You might sell for $1.50, $1.65, something like that. And your actual the seed, the nutrient, the root cube, all of that sort of stuff might only cost you about 8 cents to grow, but your packaging is where it's really going to get expensive. Your clamshell is going to cost you anywhere from 20 to 28 cents per clamshell. So you can see that cuts into your margins. The other piece of it is your label. Depending on what your label looks like, this is an old label we had years ago for some basil, living basil that we sold. These labels right here, and they have 5 colors on them. These labels cost 27 cents a piece. So if you have a label plus your clamshell, you're talking over 50 cents just for the packaging alone. So we're not huge fans of clamshells for those reasons. But the other thing just to kind of note is if you have a label, every label that you have printed is a separate cost. So you might have this clamshell and your label fits on side that one just great. But if you have a round clamshell, round one, all of a sudden you have to have a round label to put yours in. So you have to think of all of those things. One, when you're designing your labels, but two, when you're ordering them, what products go where and what do your customers want? Instead, one of the things that we really like to recommend is the hydroponic bags. And that's what our basil, see, our basil fits beautifully in there. And not only does the basil fit beautifully in there, but you add a little water at the bottom of it and it keeps the roots fresh. And grocery stores love this. Then they just set it out on a display right like that. Grocery stores love it because it keeps the product fresh for a long time and it doesn't die. And when the customer comes to buy it, they can just pick off the leaves as they need it. So this is what, and we get these from a company called Aru. You're free to go. They have a lot of hydroponic packaging at Aru. You can also order a lot of this stuff directly through AmHydro. We sell a lot of these. We call them Basil Bags. And these Basil Bags cost about 15 cents a piece. Now, one of the things you can do, you can either sell the basil just like this, or you can put your label on it right here, whatever label you have. Put it on right here to kind of promote your brand and your name. The other thing that Aru will do is you can work with them and they'll actually print your label directly on the bags, which is super great. Of course, everything costs money. So we have Basil bags, or I think they call these larger bags. I'm just going to show you a couple of different ones. So here's another one, right? It doesn't have the venting holes at top. But again, something to use. Here's a little tiny one if you have small herbs like that. We try and keep it really simple and just use the basics. We use the basil bag. Here's a lettuce bag, so you can see where's our head of lettuce. We can take our head of lettuce. We could have kept, in this case, we could have kept the roots on it, and you just put it right in here, and you can see how a pretty large, this is pretty large, lettuce fits inside this bag. Roots on, add a little bit of water at the bottom. And then we have what we call the 6-inch gusseted bag, and this can be used for all sorts of things. It can be used for a pound of microgreens. It can be used for lettuce. It can be used for the lettuce mix that you might weigh. You can see it has the, I don't know if you can see, but it has holes in it for venting, and then the gusseted part right here, so it can sit right like that. Then when you go to sell it, you can just wrap it up like this, or even a lot of times we don't even do that. We just leave it open. So that's grocery stores. That's what we sell our grocery stores to. We have the basil bags, lettuce bags, and then the gusseted bags. And so then, let's see, farmer's market is our next type of packaging. Now, generally, if people are buying from a farmer's market, right, they're concerned about the environment and sustainability. Quality is important to them, but appearance not so much. So you would never see a clamshell, for example, at a farmer's market in produce. Instead, what we have here is we have, you can just use any of these shopping bags. We have some AmHydro shopping bags that we use. These bags are about $1 a piece, maybe a little more than $1 a piece. It's a great way for a CSA to put your produce in here. In a farmer's market, you don't have to have any kind of packaging. You might just want to have just like a regular produce bag, super cheap. They're under a penny a piece, so that's great. For a CSA, maybe you've heard us talk about CSAs before. A CSA is a community-sponsored agriculture, and what that means is somebody buys basically a membership or a subscription, and every week they get something that has been harvested. Usually, in our case for the leafy greens, we include about 12 to 15 different items into their CSA bag, and we give it to them in a bag like this that they can take home and then use for shopping. That's for CSA. It's a great way to do it. You get a high dollar value for your product, and the packaging is something as simple like this that can be used over and over and over again. Let's see, the last thing I wanted to talk about is if you're going large scale, and large scale meaning over an acre or more, you want to probably do something because you don't necessarily want to hand pack like this. You would have a packaging machine, and that would be something that like these lettuce bags come in, and you see these 5-ounce lettuce bags. They have spring mixes. You might see an arugula mix or kale or anything like that. And these bags are what's called with the flow pack machine. And the great thing about these bags for packaging is that while the flow pack machine is expensive, the bags themselves can be under a penny a piece to package. So you can see when you're going large scale, you wouldn't necessarily do something like this. You would do something like a flow pack machine. The flow pack machine is expensive. It's probably over $100,000, depending on what size of operation and how many you're going to be packaging at a time. But when you're talking about the difference between something like this that's less than a penny a piece and something like this with your label and your clamshell being at 50 cents a piece, you can see how that investment would pay itself off pretty quickly. And then last but not least, here's our little microgreens, like I mentioned. This is something that we would only do for like a little sample. We'd add a few more in there. Maybe if we were adding a few flowers, edible flowers into the mix. And then you can send this off to your chef, send it off to your grocery store or restaurant, whoever you're trying to impress with your produce, and it makes a nice little package. Again, it's only a marketing item because these are quite expensive to do. But again, a lot of it is all about presentation. So that's a quick overview of all of the different packaging options we have. Again, you can order a lot of those things from American Hydroponics on our web store. You can also go directly to Aru, or Uline is another one, or if you just Google something like clamshells or something like that, you can find out what they are. So that's it. I think you'll notice on your screen we have coming up a couple of different things. We have our seminar our 2-day seminar that's held right here in Northern California in our greenhouse. And that, if you watch our webinar, we give you a code, and then you can go in when you sign up for the webinar and get a special deal. And the special deal on this one is we always encourage 2 people to attend for the seminar price. And in this case, the seminar price, it's 2 tickets for the seminar, and you get 2 nights at a hotel. We'll pay for 2 nights at your hotel, and it's a Red Lion hotel. It has breakfast in the morning, and it's very in close proximity here, so that's a great deal. So use the code you see there, sign up for our seminar. It's a great time. It is almost full. We only take a small group of people. We only take about 15 people at a time, so it's almost full. I would encourage you guys, if you want to come to it, to make arrangements to do that. And lastly, just tell you a little bit about our next seminar, which is our June seminar, and that'll be on June 21st, and we'll have Kelly from AutoGrow here, and they do environmental controls. They have probably the best dosing system in the industry right now. We use it in all of our greenhouses. We've used it for years. They're a company that's been around for years and years, so they're pretty rock solid, and we really like working with them. So they will be hosting our seminar next week to tell you more about dosing and environmental controls and all that sort of stuff. If you have any questions, as always, please feel free to email us at info@amhydro.com. Check out our social media on Twitter and LinkedIn and Facebook, Instagram. Check out all of those. And again, have any questions, give us a call, and we'd be happy to work with you.